Hi everybody, Niklas Seidloff here. OpenNTF has launched the Appathon, which are two social app dev contests. One of these contests is the IBM Connections App Dev contest. As part of this contest, we are asking developers to contribute open source that leverages IBM Connections. This open source can either be extensions to IBM Connections, for example using Open Social Gadgets or IWidgets, or these open source projects can contain custom applications that leverage IBM Connections as an infrastructure and access it either using the Social Business Toolkit SDK or using the Connections REST APIs directly. In order to make it as simple as possible for developers to build these applications, OpenNTF is providing an image in the IBM SmartCloud. That image comes with Connections and Domino pre-installed and pre-configured. Specifically, it contains Connections 4.0, CR2, Domino 853, FixPack 3, and it also comes with the latest version from of the extension library from OpenNTF. It also comes with the latest version of the Social Business Toolkit SDK, and there are 80 test user accounts, LTPA is pre-configured, etc., etc. If you are interested in using this image, please contact me and I will send you all the information you need in order to access the image. In this video, I want to describe the different ways to access the image, and I also want to walk you through the different samples that we have deployed on the image. The image comes with the SDK and the playground pre-installed. Here's a quick demonstration if you haven't seen the playground in action yet. So in the left column there are my available code snippets, and I can open these categories, choose the snippet I want, click on it, and then the source code shows up right here. So this is the HTML code, and then there's also JavaScript code that I will show you in a second. And the code is actually also directly executed, and the result should show up here in just a second. So there it is. Let me just resize this so that you can see it. And here's the JavaScript code. As you can see, we're using here the profile service and a method getProfile. And this is again live code. So when I change this here now to Anna Bauer and then I run it again, you can see the result showing up directly here. Now this was an example that could be run without having to authenticate first. Next I want to use another one, let's say activity streams and then my status updates, because this one returns the status updates of the current user, of Frank Adams. And here you can see the API, new activity stream service, and then there's the method .getMyStatusUpdates. And while this is going on, I can quickly switch to my homepage, the homepage of Frank Adams, and here you see his status update testing the OpenNTF image. Now when I go back, you can see that I get prompted, and that is because I'm using basic authentication here, so I'm not using OAuth right now. So I can type in username and password and click OK. And then it displays the result, my status update testing the OpenNTF image, in the corner here at the bottom. In order to build and test your own open social gadgets, the image has the so-called developer mode turned on. With that mode turned on, you can use this developer bootstrap test page. From here you can choose your gadgets and load gadgets. In this case, it's a very simple example. It's a Hello World gadget, and I can set up to post the gadget to the activity stream. So let me do this. I post the gadget, and here I get the result: enterprise embedded experience successfully posted. So when I go back to my home page and do a refresh, I will see the new activity stream entry showing up here, and when I click it, my open social gadget shows up in the embedded experience right here. There is also a sample on the image that shows how you can use the SDK from an XPages application. So here's an example. It's the Collaboration Today application, and I want to add a new news entry. So let's say testing as the abstract, and then when I approve this entry, it shows up here on my new on my Collaboration Today application right here. But in addition to that, I also published an entry in the activity stream of Frank Adams. So when I do a refresh, you can see the new entry, the notification that I've posted a new entry on collaborationtoday.info. And when I click on it, you can see that another X page comes up here that displays information about that news entry. And this is using not an open social gadget, but it uses it's basically a website gadget. Now here's how you can implement this. This is the Collaboration Today application right here. First of all, you need to use the extension library and the SDK library right here. In the next step, then you need to define a managed bean pointing to connections, and I'm using here connections OAuth 2. So the first time you actually run that code, you will see how the OAuth dance happens. You didn't see it because I ran this example already earlier. And you also need to define here your URLs, your ports, etc. And most importantly, the consumer secret. And I will show you at the end of this video how you can create your own OAuth tokens using that image. And you also need to define the authorization URL and access token URL. Once you have done all this, you can simply import here the packages of the SDK. For example, here the services client activity streams, activity stream service, and then you can use them like this: activity stream service, new service, and then just call a post entry where you post in a JSON object, and that JSON object contains all the information that you just saw in my demonstration, including a link to the other X page, the entry XSP, and here we pass in the ID of the news entry as an input parameter. There is another sample on the image that shows how to use the XPages social enabler from your XPages applications. So here's a quick demo. It's the exact same scenario as previously. So I capture this URL again. This time I pick the right author and say testing 2, and then I approve, and again I see the new entry showing up right here. And when I go to my home page and do a refresh, there's a new entry right here, and when I click on it, you can see it. That's the one testing 2 that I just entered. So let's take a quick look how you can implement that. Now, first of all, in this case, you don't use the SDK library, but the xlibx library that comes with the OpenNTF extension library. Then in the next step, you need to define let me go back and go to the source, because here I define that I want to use the endpoint connections LTPA. And this is exactly what I define here. In this case, I'm using LTPA because everything runs in the same domain. This URL is actually ignored, and then I can write my Java code very similar to previously. Again, activity stream service, and then service.post entry. Another example on the image shows how you can extend communities and connections using IWidgets. So here is an IWidget, a custom IWidget. It's called News, and this one has been implemented using XPages. It's the, as I call it, the generic XPages iWidget. So as a community moderator, I see this link here, Edit XPages widget, and here I can define things like the title, and more importantly, 2 XPages, can be the same XPage, in this case they are different ones. One to render the iWidget here on the overview page, where it has less real estate, and then another XPage for the full page mode. So when I cancel here and then I actually open the XPage in full page mode, this is what comes up. Since I'm the moderator and also an editor to my notes database here, my XPage application, I can create new entries from here, which are really just some links. And I also have this icon here, which I can click. And once done, I get a notification that that particular link here, collaborationtoday.info, has been added to Connections bookmarks. So when I open bookmarks of Frank Adams, my test user, you can see that my collaborationtoday.info bookmark has been added here. In order to implement that, I've used the XPages social enabler again, right here, xlibx. Again, I defined here the connections LTPA endpoint bean, and then I could write some code here which uses the sbt.connection service and passes in some XML. If you want to use this image to build open source projects for the contest, please contact me. My email address is niklas_heidloff@de.ibm.com, and I will send you all the information you need in order to access the image. For example, I will send you here the test user ID, the other credentials, certificates, and README file, and I will also cross-certify your nodes ID and make you administrator of Domino. The README file will contain all the URLs and usernames and passwords, for example the URLs to the different sample applications that I just demonstrated. And it will also contain a sample script for how you can create your own OAuth tokens. So when I copy this into the clipboard and then I launch PuTTY in order to access the image, Appathon, then I log in as IDC user, I can right click to paste that script and run it, and now it's doing something. And while it's doing that, you can also see that I can use WinSCP to access the server in order to do file transfers, and I can also VNC if you really want to, if PuTTY and WinSCP are not sufficient for you. Okay, and as the result of the script, you can now see my new application CT3, and this is actually now the consumer secret.